Good afternoon. So good afternoon po sa ating lahat. This is your Department of Information and Communications Technology, the government's lead agency for advancing the ICT development agenda. And we are from DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, which covers Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. For the information of everybody, your DICT MC1 is recognized globally as a world champion at World Summit and Information Society Prizes 2020 under e-employment category for generating an accumulated income of 1.5 million every month for freelancers who use our ICT hub. To formally start, let us all bow down our heads for our opening prayer.
Forever exalted, and I will praise his name. He is the Lord, forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in his holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high.
Good afternoon once again. So welcome to the third day of our 5-day live webinar on digital transformative technologies. So by the way, my name is May and I am again your host for today's webinar. So going 500 na po tayo sa ating Zoom call. Ayan, this is a clear indication na talagang nahuhook ng ating participants sa lectures ni Sir John. So sino-sino ba dito yung nandito since day 1? Alright, si Sir Christian, si Sir Peter. Alright, marami, no? And by the way, our this webinar is also live in Facebook. So don't forget to share our live stream so that others can join us. Hello din sa ating mga Facebook live viewers. So today is our third session with Sir John Macasio, and in a while he will be discussing about digital development principles and management. But before we begin, so here are our reminders. Always keep your mic on mute, interact with us through the chat box or when there are online tools. Have a bottle or glass of water with you. Hydrate every now and then. So you may also grab a cup of coffee while listening. So in order to boost your concentration. So activities for today, of course, we will have our Mentimeter, our question and answer portion, and the raffle draw. So this webinar began last April 12 and will end on April 16. That would be on Friday. So this is a 5-day webinar, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., 3 hours per session. So as regards our evaluation link, that will be given on April 16, 2021. So our to all our Zoom participants, so you don't have to accomplish a daily evaluation. This would be the single evaluation for you. However, for our Facebook Live viewers, there will be a daily evaluation and the link will be pinned on the comment section. So that evaluation link will be available 5 p.m. until 12 midnight. Yeah. A certificate of participation will be given to the participants who have attended 80%. So everyone take note of this, of the training sessions, and accomplished all the training activities or output. And also, I would like to reiterate that you should be typing in your correct email addresses. So during distribution of certificates, marami pong bounce back emails because mali-mali po yung input na email address. So to make sure that you will get your certificate, please make sure na active po yung email address nyo at correct po yung spelling. All right, let's do the Mentimeter. Go to www.menti.com and describe your day in one word. Share with us your thoughts po. Right, feeling malipayon. Malipayon means happy, excited, feeling hot. Meron pa rin feeling hot. Mainit ba dyan, sir, ma'am? Feeling wonderful, feeling blessed. All right. All right, thank you so much for your responses and for interacting with us. So I guess everyone is ready. So I will not anymore prolong your agony. Right. I will now turn the microphone to our resource speaker, none other than Mr. John Macasio. Sir, the floor is yours.
Magandang araw. No, kamusta ang aking dating? Ma'am May, malinaw na malinaw ba?
Yes, sir. Malinaw po, sir.
Malinaw ba ang aking kaluluwa? So, kamusta ang aking mga audience? Ba? Nami-maintain nila yung numbers. Alright, so yesterday, you actually underwent a very intensive course on Industry 4.0 and the technologies associated with it. So let me share with you the training brief yesterday. As I told you in my seminar, I always write my what you call this, aking pong training brief at the end of every seminar. So yesterday, ilan po hindi ko na ilagay pa ng tama ang aking so pinopost ko po yan sa aking page sa yan, yung kung ano nangyari sa training, ano naging highlight, ano ang summary. So yung mga participants who may want to, make feedback of what happened to their seminar, then they have a place to go to get started with their story. So this is it, okay? Okay. So yesterday, I demonstrated to you the meaning of digital transformative technologies in the context of Industry 4.0. Please take note very, very carefully. If you are now living in 2021 in this world, today, if you are here, 2021, you are no longer in the era that they called computerization. You are now transitioning to the era called Industry 4.0. Please remember that. The language is no longer computerization. The language is now digitalization. And the point of reference are disruptive technologies that is now changing the way people live. Unfortunately, we are led by people who are 60 years old up to 30, whose mindset is still in the computerization era. And there are those who are on that late level, but their real work experience has transitioned them to the digital transformative era. And I gave you an example yesterday about how the education delivery system must stop thinking computerization. If until now you keep building laboratories, all right, my friend, no way. The physical school-based budgeted model of service delivery is going digital today. Virtual network society. Remember, we are now living in the virtual network society. The Department of Health will be irrelevant to whatever you are saying, data and everything, unless the group there in central office will embrace the true meaning of digitally transformed knowledge management system. Tapos na yung era nung mga nag-retire na, nag-handle niya. The same sa Department of Education. The same sa DSWD. Pag hindi po, naku, maiiwan po tayo ng mga bansa na ang consultant nila in their digital transformation ay Filipino din. So the physical model is going digital in today's virtual networks, realizing human development outcomes. So today, the development outcome is in the context now of internet, cloud computing, and social mobile technology. So if DepEd, DOH, DTI, DILG are not in this level, start reading now the DICT Memorandum Circular 10 on the cloud computing approach in the service delivery of government. Digital transformation for new efficiency in basic education service delivery is designed and developed to support the mandated learner experience of curriculum as mandated by RA 10533. Hindi nag-iiba, hindi dahil nagkaroon digital, not because there's a digital transformation, there is already a change in the mandated requirement. Actually, if you really implement RA 10533, implementing rules and regulations, section 10.2, standard and principle, if DepEd will really implement it, it means the curriculum shall be learner-centered, inclusive, and developmentally appropriate. If that happens, your learner will not have difficulty following your module. Number 2, the curriculum shall be relevant, responsive, and research-based, not copy and paste. The curriculum shall be gender and culture sensitive. The curriculum shall be contextualized and very critical, global. So this is RA 10533 of the enhanced basic education curriculum na nagkaroon ng K-12. And then this is the very difficult part of that law. The curriculum of DepEd shall use pedagogical approaches that are constructivist. Imagine, the law has already defined the pedagogical approach. It must be constructivist. It should not be a wish list. That should be happening already. Inquiry-based, reflective, collaborative, and integrative. That one is very difficult. But if you are inside the digital space of learning, that is easy implemented. Number 6, the curriculum should use, this one is very controversial also. I'm trying to find this out in the schools here in my place, whether they are implementing spiral progression approach. that ensure mastery of knowledge and skills after each level. Question, does the teacher really know how to do that? Do they have the technology to make sure that they can monitor properly the spiral progression of knowledge? Wow. But if there is technology, that is done also easy. Then the curriculum shall be flexible, that allows localization, indigenization. This one is easy because you just use YouTube. And then the digital learning system provides the inclusive learner-focused platform of achieving educational. It offers the digital application and content. Alam nyo, gone are the days you keep repeating, creating, sometimes it's really, oh, teacher, you must be innovative, you create new things. But my friend, you're talking of the same subject matter. You may be talking of the same audience. But the digital application and content that implement constructivist, if you are really constructivist, inquiry-based, reflective, collaborative, integrative model of learning and teaching, there are lots of learning resources you have simply harvested, reused, and re-innovated. You don't make the teacher create something that is already created, and push the learner to learn something that the teacher is trying to feed them. The moment you go to a digital transformative platform, it will be different. All these things will not simply be the word of the law, but a reality to be experienced by the learner, and a reality that a teacher can do in front of the learner. Cloud computing, software as a service, wireless broadband, social media technologies related to education makes digital transformation of learning and teaching to start quick. Start quick. If only they have embraced from the start this whole concept, you could have already put all the learners, 60% of your learners online from the time you declare it is the start of the classes. Unfortunately, they insist to create system, to contract providers to create a system. My God, you will end your year without completing your LMS. With meron ng proven educational system that complies with your principle. The moment you evaluate existing educational system, if you are an owner of the school, president of the school, you simply look at your guidance principle and look at whether what is being offered to you by Bibal, by Rex, and all of the service providers, they can deliver to you right now the curricular requirement. That is wise. The Education Transformative Leadership Challenge is to create, that is the work, the model of curricular experience. When the people who created DepEd Commons, do they have a real model of curricular experience? That what is there is globally recognized, adapted to realize the mandated principle, standards, and education curriculum. Are the materials that you are presenting to your student complies to what the law has said, the standard and principles of curriculum in the Republic of the Philippines? So when you do digital transformation, it's not just technology. It is not just having Google Classroom or having Schoology or having Moodle or having a TV broadcasting, a YouTube channel. My friend, it is contextualized to this implementation. Even if you will say, my friend, we are on TV, that does not mean anything. If at the end, it does not bring that experience to the learner, that he is the king, the center of the learning process. And what he is seeing in DepEd TV is he learning it, not a teacher trying to push knowledge to the learner. And it is appropriate to the developmental status of a student. This is not the comment of Sir John. This is RA 10533. So I repeat, yesterday, we are now at the level we call Industry 4.0, wherein technology is not just for computerization. Technology is to digitally transform new efficiency, new value, and new experience of the customer. All right? Now, now you have understand the meaning of technology in the context of Industry 4.0. That's why if a principal, a president will still talk of computerization, he is not in the present era. He is still living in year 2000, not in year 2020, not in year 2021. Meaning, he does not know the technologies that is transforming the way learner-centered learning is happening, the way constructivist learning is happening. Hindi pa niyo alam. Because you refuse to see the global model. There are global models and there are solutions that are already available. But leadership cannot read it. Why? Because it is not their experience. And the challenge is, try to see, try to hear, and ask. Transformational leadership in digital transformation are people who see, who hear, and ask. They don't see, hear, and talk and pretend that they know it. No, boss. They see, they hear, and they ask. And from that perspective, understand their standard and their principle that are associated to how they are going to deliver the kind of service that is mandated by law. Not because he wants to be a judge as outstanding, good, and better. Hindi po yan. Today, we will be discussing one of the critical issues and problems in digital transformative technology development. Sabi nila, Sir John, Sir John, na-computerize na tayo di ba? Kasama ka pa nga ng mga computerization na yan. Totoo yun. Marami akong computerization sa gobyerno, nakasakasama ako. And then, ngayon, 2021, ganyan ka pa rin magsalita. Hindi naman nagbago eh. The way my stand on computerization and now is digitalization, simple pa rin ako eh. What is the value of computerization when at the end, the teacher still have a hard time getting his salary? Or the teacher still hard time getting information about something? Or the learner until now is having difficulty understand the module of a teacher and able to pass the examination? Because the real context before, if you read the digital strategy that we created in sometime in 2007, digital transformation should change the performance of Philippine education relative to the global world. If they say we are poor in English, because of technology, we are better than them. If they say we are poor in mathematics, because of technology, we are at par with them. If they say we are so, sometimes we pretend 2 or 3 persons who win in a contest does not reflect the reality of all the learners in the Philippines. The real is when you see the actual assessment of global assessor, only to find out that we may have top 3 or top 5, but in the reality of the total population, we are below. I remember when I was academic head of a university, every year, the owner will always say, John, we have to announce who are our top-notcher in the board. I always ask the owner, do you think telling the world that you have top 1, top 2, top 3 differentiate our school? Because the learner knows that out of the 100, only 30 pass and the rest failed. And for me, mahiya ka, sir. Talaga ko yan. Ganyan ako kalupit na head. So let us work on something that everyone who take the exam, they pass. So we did a study. So I was asked, John, create a framework. How do we make our student pass the board? 100%. My only target, John, is at least 85%. You know, on that very year, I studied the curriculum framework and I studied the modality by which served delivery of learning is done in the classroom. Then I made a proposal. Would you believe, my friend? After a year, my first batch who underwent that very process of change, our board result was 98%. And the top school in Metro Manila are complaining and saying, you are cheater. You have done something to cheat. How can you be better than UP, Ateneo, and FEU? You cannot. Then I told them, boys, it does not matter. You have qualified the student to enter your school. Sinalo namin yung hindi nyo kinwalify. And we teach them right. And then later, I became a registrar of one of that school. Imagine, my friend, that is what I mean to you. We changed our framework and the methodology on which learner teach. And you know what we did? It is a board exam. The board have their own curriculum called test curriculum. So we teach the student using the test curriculum. Why? At the end of the day, the value of graduation is your ability to pass the exam. And today, I notice a lot of top schools are using the very framework. We started that, my friend, would you believe? In 2007, 1987. I will not name to you the school because very controversial. One day we have an exam. Nobody would even appreciate that the top 10, the 8 students are our students. And all those who took the exam, 100% in the most difficult subject area. They never realized we had shifted. We have changed the methodology, adjusting it to a principle, a very, very principle. We will make life of student easy, relative to the objective that they learn what is required for them to practice the profession. So that, I know what's the problem, Sir John? The same with computerization in government agency. The problem is not technology. The problem is not the staff. The problem is not the old employee. No, they are not the problem. The problem are not people who does not want to change. No. The problem is management, leadership. That is globally recognized. Boss, it is now globally recognized. There are even documents showing that. That's why you find a lot of seminar on stewardship leadership, change transformational leadership. Because the point of failure, my friend, is simple. Leadership, governance. And when you talk of leadership and governance, the gap is not having a master's degree, a PhD. That is not the gap. Not having the training, that is not a gap. That is easy to be resolved. The problem is their principles in life. The principle that govern their attitude, their view of a problem, and their view to resolve a problem. That's why our discussion today is about digital development principle. It is a globally recognized, and it is now a globally being resolved that in order for people to really experience the value of digital transformation, the digital development principle of people who are leading, managing, right, are right. So, yan po tayo. So, hindi problem ang technology, boss. You may have a very slow internet, But if you have a very slow leadership, that's the end of it. You may have a very obsolete technology, but if the leadership has an obsolete mind and experience, then my friend, even if I give you the high tech today, you will not even appreciate it. And you will not even direct your people, lead your people towards it. Why? Because it is not your principal element. So that is globally recognized gap to be resolved. And there is a global organization, a global community that is trying to teach management and leadership who are in developmental work, meaning developing digital technologies in order to transform health, education, social service. The key is make that leadership and management embrace the digital development principle. All right? So that is the key. Don't ever tell me the problem is corruption. My friend, corruption is a result of a person who is dishonest. A person who goes to the church but never live the Ten Commandments. Because if that is what he lives, there will be no corruption. Simple, di po ba? That is not John Macasio. That is a fundamental principle already recognized in leadership and management training. In leadership and management training. Sang tambak kaya ang mga good governance training dito sa Pilipinas. But how come? But how come? How come? Always, how come? So today, that is our topic. All right? So let me start. Okay, let me start first with a movie. I don't know whether it's going to play. All right? So let me start this one. You know, people ask me always, Sir John, Sir John, is there already a model that digital transformation happened in a country and that country started to be very, very poor, like Philippines, or poorer than the Philippines? That is the question. I can answer you because I've been in those places. And I have met suppliers who supplied the technology to those places. So one day they were asking me, Sir John, you're so... So I told them, I am following two countries who started as very poor, very, very poor. But today, they are the top country in the world because of digital transformation. And they develop not because they have a lot of people with PhD and masters. Tell you no. They develop because they have people who live the principle associated to digital development. They live it. And then based on that, they develop their skills and their knowledge relative to that requirement. Well, sa akin, kung may PhD ka, hindi naman related doon sa trabaho. Di wala din yan, boss. Or to the outcome to be created. So in these places, there are models. And there are places that I have watched how those technology evolve. Unfortunately, some of those suppliers, I have my non-disclosure agreement. But I can say to you, and one of the country that is commonly cited is Estonia. My God, if you know Estonia from the start when it was get out of the Russian Federation, it's one of the poorest of the poor. One of the poorest of the poor. Ang mga babae niyan, inilalako pa sa ibang bansa para maging prostitute. But today, you go to Estonia, my friend. Estonia is a lead country on digital transformation. So let me share with you the Estonia experience of digital transformation as a country.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of Tech 24 out of Tallinn, Estonia, the world's first e-nation. Estonia is often hailed as the most digitally advanced society in the world. Since its independence from the Soviet bloc 28 years ago, this small Baltic state has transformed itself into an e-nation with 90% of government services online. Internet access is even considered a basic human right and is enshrined in the Constitution. In a tweet, the president of Estonia recently called attention to the country's high proportion of unicorns for companies valued over $1 billion compared to the country's population. Estonia is already known as the birthplace of Skype, one of its 4 unicorns, along with Playtech, Taxify, and TransferWise. After London, Paris, Berlin, and Silicon Valley, Tallinn seems to be the new land of opportunity for entrepreneurs. Let's meet with some people who have decided to set up their business here in the Estonian capital.
Hi, I'm Ty Cruz, and welcome to my office here in Tallinn.
40 computer engineers from across 5 countries work in this 500-meter squared office. They're the team behind the startup On-Off, an application that allows you to have multiple numbers for one mobile phone.
First of all, I thought to myself, we need to find a country, not just where the engineers are very good, but where they know how to produce the kind of technology that I want to make. So clearly I had to go to a country where the workforce is cheaper to create a more effective product and so become more competitive. And finally, we're based here in the Silicon Valley of Europe.
A hub of technological ingenuity whose spirit is embodied by one place in particular, the Teleskivi Creative Center, a former Soviet industrial complex now home to startups from all over the world, including Chile, China, Canada, and Italy. They operate from this co-working space known as Lift 99.
Excuse me, Sir John. Nawala po yung audio, sir.
Narinig ba ninyo?
Nung una, sir. And then nawala po
May?
yung
May?
audio.
Ito
Yes, sir.
gagawa ko sa iyo. Ito yung file. Alright? Ito yung link sa file. And then, paki-play na lang.
Sige po, sir.
Alright?
We have someone po,
And
sir,
then
na
everyone
mag-play po, sir.
also in the live and you can share already, okay, this file so that you will be able to appreciate properly the presentation today. Okay, go.
Okay po, sir. In a while po.
So what we are doing is I'm providing you a live example. You know, some people, Sir John, show us a model. So there is a model which is being copied better than Singapore and your Korea. And that country started as very poor, my God, very poor. But today, because of digital transformative technology, they are the #1 already in the world. Okay? They are the copy and paste by other developing countries and industrial countries.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Tech 24 out of Tallinn, Estonia, the world's first e-nation.
Estonia is often hailed as the most digitally advanced society in the world. Since its independence from the Soviet bloc 28 years ago, this small Baltic state has transformed itself into an e-nation with 90% of government services online. Internet access is even considered a basic human right and is enshrined in the constitution. In a tweet, the president of Estonia recently called attention to the country's high proportion of unicorns, or companies valued over $1 billion, compared to the country's population. Estonia is already known as the birthplace of Skype, one of its 4 unicorns, along with Playtech, Taxify, and TransferWise. After London, Paris, Berlin, and Silicon Valley, Tallinn seems to be the new land of opportunity for entrepreneurs. Let's meet with some people who have decided to set up their business here in the Estonian capital.
Hi, I'm Tyke Chris, and welcome to my office here in Tallinn.
40 computer engineers from across 5 countries work in this 500-metre squared office. They're the team behind the startup On-Off, an application that allows you to have multiple numbers for one mobile phone.
First of all, I thought to myself, we need to find a country, not just where the engineers are very good, but where they know how to produce the kind of technology that I want to make. So clearly I had to go to a country where the workforce is cheaper to create a more effective product and so become more competitive. And finally, we're based here in the Silicon Valley of Europe.
A hub of technological ingenuity whose spirit is embodied by one place in particular, the Teleskivi Creative Center, a former Soviet industrial complex now home to startups from all over the world, including Chile, China, Canada and Italy. They operate from this co-working space known as Lift 99. Youssef, a Moroccan software engineer, came here from Berlin 6 months ago to develop a virtual reality startup aimed at allowing anyone to create their own VR experience. It's transformed his project.
In 1 year in Berlin, I could test 2 methods, which wasn't what I wanted. Since moving to Estonia, I could test all of the methods that I hadn't gone through.
Due to its efficiency and supportiveness, this tech community is a tight-knit one. So far, 340 companies have received what's called startup status. This grants them the right to apply for a startup visa or temporary residence permit in Estonia. The startup visa is just one of the ways people can bring their company here. E-residency allows you to be a digital citizen without setting foot in Estonia. Then there is the digital nomad visa, which is being launched here in January and differs from the startup visa. Startup Estonia is a government initiative which works to support and encourage the country's startup ecosystem.
The main difference is that the digital nomad visa gives you a right to just come here for a brief amount of time, but you can also continue traveling after that. But with the startup visa, we see that people actually commit themselves to at least a couple of years in Estonia. They want to benefit from the community and then get the contacts and maybe scale out.
As Estonia looks to attract more and more international entrepreneurs, it now has to respond to new challenges. How to ensure that the necessary infrastructure is in place for those who choose to up sticks and move here.
The e-Estonia project aims to make the government more efficient and more transparent. Every single citizen here has a secure digital identity, enabling them to file their tax returns, check their medical records, and vote. Estonians can do pretty much everything online, apart from marrying, divorcing, and buying a house. Let's meet with one of the founding fathers of this project.
For just 6
Lynn or Vic, thank you so much for joining us here on Tech 24. How did the idea of creating the world's first e-government arise back 28 years ago?
It all started with necessity. Estonia has just at that time regained its independence from Soviet Union, and we saw a technological opportunity to make public administration and government work more efficiently. It was just efficiency gains we were seeking for, and it came from necessity. We were not able financially to maintain the public administration and bureaucracy as we know in Europe.
And now, how did you gain people's trust?
Trust can be gained with an interaction. As we say often that it takes 10,000 hits in golf to become somebody who knows how to hit. It takes 10,000 interactions or emails to gain a trust. It starts also with non-formal trust, which means that municipalities or government is responding to emails, the public services and information is transparently online. And when people gradually start using it, it also increases the trust level.
And now the personal data of 1.3 million Estonians is now stored in the government cloud. How do you ensure the security of all this data?
We have a distributed architecture for the digital government, which is on top of that highly crypted, and all the data exchange and all the services which we create are carried out through the common secure data exchange layer, which we call in Estonia X-Road. And this ensures that the data of the citizens and businesses is securely stored in government. On other angle, not only that we carry out continuous digital security tests and we certificate our systems, it's also extremely important that all citizens can see what government knows about me and how government is using data about me. So we have not a big brother controlling society, but rather we have a small brother, which is citizens, who can have a full control over what government is doing with their data.
Now, you say that you're creating an e-government for everyone, an e-nation for everyone, but what about citizens who don't want to give their identity and have their personal data stored in the cloud? Can they still function in a society where everything is digitized?
We need to be available and accessible for everybody. However, we need also to understand that it's more efficient and convenient for people also to use digital services. Let me give you one example. When we declare our taxes online, then the tax returns, when I do it digitally, I get it back virtually in a couple of days. If I do it on paper, which I can also do, it will be stored and it will be processed only when the tax declaration period is over, and I get my returns back after the paper document is processed, because it takes more time.
And last but not least, parliamentary elections are set to take place this March, with about 50% of Estonians that are set to use the e-voting system. Some specialists are worried about security breaches. What do you say to that?
Internet voting in one country, say, for example, referendums in Switzerland, using electronic voting system in United States, or internet voting in Estonia, are very different compared to each other. It's very difficult to compare them to each other. In Estonia, the system is built around the digital identity card, individual certificates, and centrally coordinated approach, which ensures a much higher levels of security. And despite the fact that there is a theoretical possibility to intrude to one person's vote, you can't undermine the total elections.
Lynn Arvik, thank you so much for that. And it's time for our Test 24 segment of the week, and Dan and Jay Kattlecar is here to tell us just what it's all about to be an e-Estonian.
In January this year,
At the heart of Estonia's e-governance is this system called X-Road, which essentially is a digital platform that connects individual databases. This ensures privacy and an efficient transfer of information. Now, one of its biggest advantages is that it saves plenty of time. How do you access this X-Road platform? It's through a digital ID card that's issued to every Estonian citizen and resident. To talk more about this card and how it works, I'm now joined by Tobias Koch, who is the spokesperson of e-Estonia. Could you tell us how this card works?
You have a physical card that is issued by the Estonian government, by the Police and Border Guard, and with the help of this card, you can log into information systems and also actually give digital signatures. This could be now ID card based, but also based on the mobile ID. So you can actually also use your mobile phone in order to access public service. This is actually my ID card. So I'm plugging the card into the computer. There's an integrated smart card reader. And with the help of the smart card reader, I can now go to the state portal, which is esti.de. And there, if I want to get access to confidential information, I of course need to authenticate who I am. So just like going to the office of the authority and showing my ID card so that people know that's really me.
And what services can be accessed through this card?
What you can do here is actually you can do everything from establishing a business. You can request childbirth allowance, for example. You can also check your education register, like what kind of information is accessible about you there. You can change your address, a very practical thing that you need to do every time you move. So that's very, very easy through that environment. But also, and this is now separate from the state portal, is that you can actually vote electronically.
Okay, thank you, Tobias, for your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Now, one of the most important features of this system is that it ensures data privacy and data integrity. Now, this is done through the so-called PKI system, which is the Public Key Infrastructure System, and there's also a Data Protection Inspectorate. So if a citizen or a resident finds that there has been some violation of data, then he or she can complain to this authority. And there's an additional layer in the form of blockchain technology, which again ensures more data integrity. To know more about it, we are now joined by a representative from Guard Time. How does blockchain technology help in ensuring data integrity?
So the way KSI blockchain works is that a user of the services has some kind of data which it wants to protect. It hashes a data. It can be, for example, a medical record. The hash, which is a digital fingerprint of the data, is linked with the KSI blockchain, and the user gets in return a token which can be used to independently and continuously verify the integrity of the data, the signing time of the data, and the signing entity of data.
Aita, well, that's how you say thanks in Estonian. Back to you, Julia.
That brings us to the end of this special edition of Tech 24 out of Tallinn, Estonia, but do stay with us here on France 24.
All right. So how are you, citizen of the Republic of the Philippines? Do you know, my friends, that all those technologies that they are talking about, they are here in the Philippines. There are some people are wishing it. They are here already in the Philippines. There are distributors, suppliers here in the Philippines. And imagine, in the Republic of the Philippines, you have a lot of theses and papers where all the theoretical framework were all copied from papers that were done for Estonia. I can cite you all of those experts there. However, some people will still ask, Sir John, kung nandito na meron na yung mga technologies na yan sa Pilipinas, why is it we are not moving? And I've been telling you guys, we have been here in technology since year 2000. And we are not lacking in money. My God, if you know only the Ego Fund that started with 1 billion, and if they were really true to the e-government framework that they started in year 2000, Ma'am Sharon, we don't lack funds. Look at your budget allocation, study it from year 2000 to the present, plenty of money. But you look at the procurement related to computerization, then that's another story. Imagine, I'll give you an example, the national ID system. The national ID system that was provided with billions of pesos. How it is going to transform the lives of a Filipino. Kung ang utak pa rin nila, pang ID na ipapakita mo doon sa teller. Ipapakita mo doon sa whatever. Problema, ano yan? The expectation that will bring you to a transactional process. But how can you be transactional when the offices like DOH and Pag-ibig are not transactional? And interface that. And imagine, my friend, the framework and the technology has already been perfected. But how come in the Republic of the Philippines you're spending so much money copying the framework? That's another story. The reason is leadership and management. That's the problem. If you are at the level where these things are being discussed, ay nako, you will surely be telling yourself, what is wrong? The wrong is the way we go in our digital transformation journey. Remember, the Republic of the Philippines has been in the digital transformation since year 2000. Year 2000. Hinangaan tayo ng mundo sa ating e-commerce law. The world was looking up in the Philippines in the time of GMA because of the cyber corridor. Then gone when Pinoy came to power. Today, we are trying to recover with DICT. That's, me, I have a high hope that DICT will complete this digital transformation journey. Remember, the budget is large. If you guys have not yet read the e-government master plan, please be fair in your comment about digital transformation in your country. Study the EGMP and ask your agency of government whether you are complying to that requirement of digitalization provided in the EGMP. The digital transformation leadership will only happen if there is a common understanding of digital development principles. I'm telling you, my friend, corruption is not the problem. The problem is you don't have the right principle to guide your life. And the result is corruption. Imagine there is a requirement for all government agencies to have a quality management system in 2007. It's a mandated requirement in order for you to deliver efficiency. How many government agency has a complete quality management system? Hindi peke. Pa-audit nila isang component process and then lalagyan sa malaking building ang kalang tarpaulin. But if you look at inside, and then agile governance and methodology, and then disruptive industry 4.0. So, the digitalization, ako lang DOH, ang DOH ngayon, there is a project of the group being led by Asek Tayag on the computerization of the knowledge management system. That is digitalization of operation. You will only achieve the new efficiency if DOH, DepEd, and all the agency of government will digitalize its operation. And imagine the digitalization of operation is in RA 11032, automation and no contact policy. Imagine the head of agency violating the law. It isn't the law. They spend their time drawing their citizen charter without realizing that your citizen charter based on RA 132 must demonstrate the business process engineering and the requisite to make efficient the government service delivery. And there are two basic requirements: automated and, my friend, electronic transaction that promotes no contact policy. It is in the law, the digitalization of operation. Don't ever tell me there is no budget. How can you have a budget when your head of the agency does not prioritize it? Come on. When you prioritize it, there is money. I've seen it. When I was consultant of DepEd with Secretary Jessley, when he said, I'm going to computerize, we had the first 3 billion for the DCP. So when we left, we had 3 billion to be used by DepEd. When ICTO said we are going to have iGov, when Secretary Abad became a secretary of the DBM, they say we are going to have MITI, the harmonization of all the system. Money was given. There is fund. But the problem is not that. Management again. Have you reaped the benefit of the MITI fund? So it's not money. It is management. The operational backbone of the business is digital. I'm coming like this because you know why? Because if you know, you have the responsibility to share it. Although there are things I have my non-disclosure and confidential. But you know, at the end of the day, people will say, no money, corrupt. That's not the problem. No technology, low tech. No. If you only know, that's not the problem. There are laws, rules that has been in place, but the head of agency are violating the law. They are not true to their oath that their operation must be based on regulation. If only they observe 605/2007, most of the government agency will have quality system. If you only follow the requirement of the ISSP relative to the GISP, my God, at this time, most of the government agency, especially DOH, DepEd, BIR, Customs, millions, boss, DSWD, they would have already offering to you this one, the digital service development. If you want to make a thesis, boss, study everything that started with you till 2000, all the submitted ISP of agency, all the budgeted project, all the procurement, and then relate them to the digital transformation objective of the time. You will be shocked. Okay? So new business design and build around digital transformative technologies that create new value and delight the customer. Now, may problema eh. Bakit siya dyan? Walang project management office. There is no national project management office that makes sure that the project related to digital transformation are properly defined. And sometimes you even have project manager or PM who are not really competent for the job. But they are qualified sa PDS, sa Civil Service Qualification. Doon sa matrix, but not necessarily to the definitive experience that is required in order for you to define the project. Why? You don't admit certified project manager who are really experienced project manager. 2, assessment of risk. There should be when there is a national project management office for digital transformation, they exactly know na if that particular agency will do that project, palpak yan. And if this procurement entity, ay naku, they know that. We know the chismis of all the bidding procurement that is outsourced to some government entity, that they are the ones who are doing the procurement. My God, plenty of chismis on how they fail. Unfortunately, we don't do. Filipino, kung wala mag-complain, lakas. And then, if, you scratch your back, I scratch your back. That is the whole reality. So the assessment of risk. I am sharing to you experience of countries who became successful in their e-government project. And tell you, there are a lot of Filipinos who have been consultant of this e-government project of other countries. Then standards. Ang Pilipino, ang tindi niyang gumawa ng kung anong policy and reference, pagalingan pa eh. Eh boss, existing na yan eh. Fortunately today, the people who are handling privacy and security, they don't reinvent the wheel. They look at reference standard and try to implement. There are a lot of normative reference standard. Statutory and regulatory compliance is already available. Imagine mo itong isang agency, alam ko eh. Imagine, he's trying to create a system that the system is already available. He will just acquire it as a service. He will still insist to create his own learning management system. And then every time it's being used by the teacher, always offline. My God, why not just acquire instead of building? Acquire instead of building. Keep building, but never completing. Ako napakarami niyan, boss. Know the standard. And then agree on methodology. Agree on methodology. Sa Pilipinas kasi, ang weakness mo, you try to declare to the world you're okay. You create a body who gives awards. Award. Every year there's award. But if you ask them, can we repeat your success? Can we repeat that again? That we will be successful? Wala na. Because the next level of issue is the agreement on methodology. Agreement. Ang Pilipinas ang napakaraming award body. Award body ang dami. But if you go to that agency being awarded, you cannot feel the performance that is required that will make a customer really happy. And then, my friend, templates. We don't have to do, you don't have to make the life of people, of your employee hard. Just use the proven template and the proven tools. Alright? Siguro, punta ka kayo, very passionate si Sir Jan yan, no? Ang reason, ako ang co-author po ng ICT Project Management module ng United Nations APC-ICT. Pinag-aralan ko po talaga ito at hinanap and recognize what is causing, all right, the failure or nag-succeed pero kaunti, very minimal ang impact because of these things. There are no appropriate checklists on to lead and direct and control projects. And then, meron pong Digital Impact Alliance. Sa mundong ito, there are organizations who funds our digital development. For example, World Bank, UN, AusAid, USAID, yung DepEd, sangkatutak na pera binuhos dyan ng AusAid at ng USAID. On computerization, on digitalization. But what are our problem is not the IT group, not the IT people, not the teacher. Hindi matigas na ulo ng teacher. Hindi yan. The problem is not even content or technology. The problem is the principle that are being used by management and leadership in the handling of the digital development. That is not an opinion. That is a global finding, not just in the Philippines, but in other countries like us who are asking for world financial assistance for our computerization project. So the Digital Impact Alliance is an organization of all of these development fund entity and groups that help countries like us to use digital transformation technology in order to improve the life of people. And according to them, the problem is principles. They don't observe the principle that will make them successful. First, design with the user. DepEd, are you designing your LMS with the teacher? 2, do you understand the existing ecosystem? 3, scale. Do you build for sustainability? After nung inyong USEC at ASEC na may nagpondo niyan, buhay pa ba yan? 5, data-driven. You have indeed collected the right data that will make you make your decision. Or you are limiting yourself to the syndicated consultants who think they know better. Those are the point of reference that destroy, make digital development project fails. Do you use open standard, open data, open source, and open innovation? Do you reuse and improve? Yung bang ginawa nung panahon ni Abad, ni Secretary, what you call this, ni Lapus, nung isa pa, lahat ng ginawa ng panahon na yun at mga nag-retire na ngayong mga ASEC, USEC, relative to the same problem of quality education where they reuse and improve. Do you really address privacy and security? How secure and data privacy compliant is your e-base and your learning management system? Ayan. Number 9, collaborative. Do you really work with the real expert? Or you are only working with people who are in the academy with reputable brand? If not, my friend, no way. Hindi, yan ang mga point of failures. And then, you follow the life cycle process. Know the discipline. Know how it is being done. And if you are the head of the agency, you understand technically the protocol. But before you sign anything, it has underwent to that rigid requisite of the life cycle process. Analyze and plan, design and develop, deploy and implement, monitor and evaluate. Question: the agency was computerization project. Do you have your digital development methodology? How is your agency going to do the analysis and the planning, the design and the development, the deployment and the implementation, the monitoring and evaluation? And everyone who is assigned to manage that, they are made accountable and responsible for the result. That is an experience of all e-government projects that started from year 2000 until now. They have power. But remember, power has its own end of term. May end of term yan. And then when your end terms, that is the time that the next power will try to set you aside. I have experienced that, my friend, since 2003, when I get involved in government agency at the top level of authority. But the most saddest part in the life of a secretary is the end of term. And he just tried to collect what he can say to the world, his legacy. But if you listen to the user and the customer, that problem is still being resolved by the next secretary. No, very sad state. Why? Because of the methodology, my friend. Continuity and sustainability is in the agreed methodology that adheres to the common principle of the right thing to do. That is where the gap, and that is not the opinion of Sir John. That is a global finding relative to digital development. All right? And I don't have to, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. What we are going to do is you look at the existing standard. Kung talagang matino kang director and you want to make properly the digital development of your agency, look for that global reference standard because it is available. And you only need to what? Read, analyze, and apply. If you really want to have a good governance, my friend, it is there and it is available. But unfortunately, if you're still always thinking of what will make me look good, better, no way. Good governance does not make you good, best, or better. Good governance means you know the right thing to do and you know how to do the right things right. That principle is the Peter Drucker principle. Very old principle in management and in governance. Totoo kang manager, totoo kang leader if you know the right thing to do and you do the right thing right. Not because you are telling the world how you are going to be good, how you are going to be better or best, and then later you get an award. That is not good governance. That is not good governance if you follow the standard. Kaya minsan nagtataka ko, saan kaya nila pinag-aralan yun? Because it does not reflect whatsoever in most of the what? In most of the management and governance guidance. And interesting, some people does not even know the ISO standard on good governance. My God, there is a standard on good governance. ISO 3700. If people is teaching you about good governance in your organization, whether he's teaching you the right thing to do, check ISO 37000. And if you are an IT director, okay, my friend, the reference standard that will tell us that you are good director is not what you say. It is ISO 20000. That will tell us. And ISO 3800. That is the standard that will tell you whether your IT director is doing the right thing to do. And whether your governing board, your governance body is doing the right thing to do, my friend, that is ISO 37000. Globally recognized and accepted standard that will tell you that you know what you are talking about as a manager, as a governing board, as a director. Not because I studied from here, I was a former like this. And this is the thing that we need to know. Boss, that is power, simply influencing the idea. But the moment you are challenged, boss, ano basis? Gagaling ka pa ba sa akin? Dati kung mayor kaya, ngayon presidente na ako eh. Talaga, okay. Pero what makes you right? Nagpa-survey ako, sikat ako eh. Ay boss, hindi ho ganyan ang standard niyan. Nagpa-survey ako, okay naman sila lahat sa akin, they like me. In the social media nga eh, I have very few dislike. Madali hong i-manage siya. Pero ang question again is, are you doing the right thing to do? At the end of the day, management and leadership is bothered by the result. Because the right thing to do and the right thing to do right, naniningil po yan. It has a way of collecting the debts. Unfortunately, ang tinatamaan po yung mahirap na mga tao. The inefficiency that is painted to be okay. Those who suffer are the customer and the user. That is why in digital development process, the world, I'm telling you, the world has already recognized. Turuan mo yung mga leader na yan on digital development principle. All right? So my friend, I will show you the digital development principle. And you can have it, a copy of it, use it, and study it, and apply it. And if you are teaching management in your school, use it, my friend. Don't belabor so much in finding something that has already been established that only needs to be used. Yun lang po yun eh. Si Estonia, dami humahanga. Hindi nila alam. The technology and the methodology is in the Philippines, but government agency never procure those things. Why? Because their leadership, all right, have no real reference of the right thing to do. Now, I can cite to you a lot because I have done a study of all of these things since 2003. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then sometime in 2006, when we did the ICT Project Management Guide for the United Nations, I did my own investigative assessment of how projects are being conducted by government funds. That's why I'm sometimes, to some people, I'm controversial, because they always say, John will tell you you're negative. But I always telling people, boss, I always take the advice of Stephen Covey. You will never appreciate my 7 good habits and my 8 unless you have not admitted your real experience of the bad habits. Remember, every good that you declare to the world, that you are the best and the better, the underpinning is what we call evil. The good, the better, and the best, the underpinning of that, my friend, is evil. That's why you're trying to be good. That's a framework. So the same in management. The point of reference, all right? The point of reference always is when you raise your hand. I always tell this to my student in the Career Executive Service Board before, that the moment you raise your hand and made your promise to serve the public, there is a clause. It says there, everything you do is always in accordance with rules and regulations coming from legitimate authority. Why is it ISO 9001 is a difficult requirement that an agency of government cannot comply? Meaning, the head of the agency is violating his own oath. The requirement for data privacy protection is an obligation of an head agency. Why he's just passing it on to a DPO? And that is it. That is the frame. Somebody has to make that pointed out. So my friend, let's have a break for a while. And then after that, when we come back, I will show you the reference material on digital development principle. This is a globally recognized reference to guide you on how to make sure that you are doing the right thing to do. And you are doing the right thing right. Tandaan niyo yun. Sa Tagalog, na ginagawa mo yung tamang gawin. At yung tamang gawin ay ginagawa mo ba ng tama? And you don't have to belabor yourself finding out where is the reference. There is already a globally published guidance that is being adopted by the country who once upon a time like us, but now they have already overtaken us. Okay? May, where are you?
15 minutes break po ba, sir? All right, let's have a 15-minute break. Sana ba si Mr. Timer?
May hinantay kong grab food.
Sir, come again?
Hinantay ko yung grab food. Wala. Tinatatawa lang kita, May. Parang hindi ko napapasi si Wendy, ah. Bigla nawala.
Absent po si Wendy, sir. Wala po siya dito sa Zoom ngayon.
O
Naka-work from home po siya, sir.
baka nakikiramay kay Eric. Sa ng buhay ni Roderick. All right. Okay, start tayo ulit. Nasaan na kayo? May, nasaan ka na, May?
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. Ipi-play na po namin yung video, sir.
Mag-i-intro lang ako, ha? Intro lang.
Sige po, sir.
So, just to give you just to make, to properly situate you to the next discussion. Tandaan po ninyo, the problem of digital transformation in our government, in the industry sector in the Philippines, is not because there is no technology. It is not because there is no internet. It is not because you don't have the right people or the technical people. It is because we don't observe the valid principle that will make our digital transformation successful. And unfortunately, people who are in the position of power does not even read it. And if ever they have attended seminar on it, it has not been properly communicated and used, which is now being recognized by the whole world who are practitioners in digital development, that it must now be promoted. Remember, we are not failed by methodology. An organization is never failed by methodology. It is never failed by technology. It is failed by the principle, the belief that leadership and management understand. That is what drives success or failure. Okay? So, I will not be talking much about it because I want you to see the published guidance. There is a published guidance. And if you are really into that mode of making things right in your digital development, in your organization, and if you have an influence to your director, to your ASEC, and to your USEC, there is a guidance. Okay, May? Fire!
The Principles for Digital Development are a set of 9 living guidelines to help practitioners implement better technology solutions to development challenges. The principles are meant to help guide the creation of technology-enabled programs and tools so that development organizations can reach more people with life-enabling services more quickly and sustain those services to produce stronger and more sustainable outcomes. The principles for digital development were developed by the digital development community for the digital development community. No matter your organization's size, sector, specialty,